What's going on there, Workforce? Brian here, and a bit of exciting news. Square Enix has announced Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition is coming in 2019. Now, this was announced at a PlayStation event, and so this is really interesting news. If you're not aware of what Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is, it's an action RPG originally developed for the GameCube. It had a couple of follow-ups. It had Rings of Fate and Echoes of Time for the Nintendo DS, and even Echoes of Time got a Wii Remastered Edition, and then eventually there was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles The Crystal Bearers for Wii as well. This is a series that has been very different. Obviously, you can see on the screen right now, I've got Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, the original edition, playing out. You have Hearts for your life. It's not as Final Fantasy as later editions that the DS essentially, I think, almost kind of perfected in a way. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles DS, like Echoes of Time, I think was probably the best one that I ended up playing. I ended up skipping out on the Crystal Bears, namely because my Wii had died at that point and I wasn't really interested in getting a new edition. But so this is what we know. We know it's coming in 2019. We know it's coming for PlayStation. I'm going to assume and go out on a branch here that it's also coming out on the Nintendo Switch. It would make sense being that its history is very rooted in Nintendo, which is a bit interesting because it is the first Final Fantasy series to actually return to Nintendo since Final Fantasy VI. Square Enix and Nintendo had a legendary falling out, and this represented a return to form. The GameCube edition had you have this little Moogle that had kind of a following to you. Basically, there was a shrouding of mist, so trying to keep everybody in the same spot. It's a multiplayer game, if you're not aware, an action RPG. And if you were playing in multiplayer, somebody had to be the Moogle. Someone had to pick up, I guess, the item that allowed you to move about in the world and move through the mist safely. Otherwise, you'd get in a lot of danger. You would end up dying. This mechanic was later removed in other editions, and so if this remastered edition is to take the original game, I hope they also take in what they learned from Echoes of Time as well. Also getting rid of this mechanic, and then obviously bringing in more of that Final Fantasy feel. Echoes of Time, I thought, for me, was personally one of the best examples of what it could do on the DS at the time. Really good for multiplayer. Obviously, everybody had their own screen. When it was originally then ported to the Wii to make up for the fact that everybody doesn't have their own handheld edition of this game, it did something really interesting with the screens, allowing you to kind of mix and match, like who has the more visibility into the screens itself. Personally, I think that this excelled on the handheld. This was a handheld design game, and that, if you also aren't aware, back in the day when you had the Game Boy Advance and the GameCube, which is the original was released on, you could actually hook up your Game Boy Advance as the controller for the game itself to help you manage your inventory and do those various, I guess, tasks that wouldn't then impact the overall feel of the game itself. But it does have a lot of Final Fantasy elements to it outside the fact that it's an action RPG. You got Gil, you got magic, very familiar, the very different spells, etc. I think the later editions allowed you to kind of more specialize in classes and various gameplay elements like that. Personally, I don't like the hearts, never really did, but I did like in Echoes of Time that you actually had a HP and MP bar. You could really kind of gear up your classes. You could have a very good, unique feel to it. Still very action-oriented, very team puzzle-y oriented as far as that goes. But guys, this is interesting news. I'm wondering if we're going to see some information like this released about the Nintendo Switch coming in the current days. If it doesn't make its way to Switch, that would be a shocker considering just how well games are doing on the Switch itself. So the fact that this is coming in 2019 and all we have is this image saying that it's coming in 2019, there's a lot to build off of here. I'm hoping that this is a Switch game, namely because I think it would be perfect, especially with the fact that, again, dealing with the multiplayer aspect, whether you want to play on the same screen or you could run it with multiple switches in handheld mode, really could end up having a huge value to itself. Guys, for Work to Game, this is Brian. I am so excited to be able to share this news with you. It's obviously more Final Fantasy, and I think more Final Fantasy is a good thing. And I was always wondering if we would ever see a return of this series after so long. It's been a while since we've seen a game released, and we never ended up seeing any on the 3DS. So to see this return to the Switch, I think would be exciting information. Let me know, sound off in the comments below what you're thinking. Did you ever play this game? Do you have fond memories of running these dungeons with your friends, as I do? Sound off in the comments below. Let's have that conversation. But for Work to Game, my name is Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Hey guys, Chris here. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see our next video, go ahead and click right there. If you'd like to see our vlog, click down below. The subscribe button should be right below me here, and you should see all of our contact information. Have a great day, and we will see you next time.